But I think that leads perfectly into the next question, which is asking, should I stop investing until the market settles? Or like on the flip side of that, should I be investing even more now? Like where do you sit with that?
I sit right in the middle. So I'm going to continue to do exactly what I've been doing. Now, I will say I have a healthy emergency fund. I'm going to throw a little bit more into that. So I think the question is, do you feel comfortable with your cash reserves right now? Do you have an emergency fund? Do you feel comfortable with that? Because if you're investing, you could pull back a little bit just to start putting some cash aside if you feel like you need some more security there. Otherwise, press forward and continue to do what you're doing. I would not be waiting until like the bottom to try to like put all of my money at the bottom. Because again, we don't know what that looks like. So I'm doing the same thing I've been doing. I'm putting money into my Roth IRA. I'm putting money into my taxable brokerage accounts, into my 401k. I'm going to continue to do that, automate it every single month. I'm not changing anything. But like I said, I think there's some people that could potentially shift some things for what they're doing based on kind of what they have right now. What do you think, Nick?
No, I think you said it perfectly. Like if you're decreasing how much you're investing right now, the only justification in my mind is because I want to pad up my cash reserves. Cool. That's okay. But if you're just like, I don't want to invest right now, and it's purely out of fear, I do think you're making the wrong decision. Now, on the flip side of that, should I be investing more? I'm a huge believer that you can't time the market.
No.
With that said, I always do like to if I was going to put $500 into my brokerage account, maybe $100 of that, I'm going to keep in cash in that brokerage account for what I think are buying opportunities in the future, which this to me was a buying opportunity. So when I saw the market started to go down, I waited a little bit. I was like, all right, is this going to continue going down? Is it going to rebound real quickly? And I was like, you know what? I'm happy at this price that it is right now. This is the price that I'm seeing now is as if I was buying 10 months ago. I would have loved to invest more 10 months ago. So I put more money in, but that's not changing my overall strategy. That's kind of just like a little side piece going on to where, hey, if I see an opportunity that I'm like, you know what, I want to throw a little bit of extra money in there, I'm going to do it. Will that pay off? That's the downside. I don't know if it's going to pay off, but I do believe that these investments in 30 years are going to be worth a whole lot more than they are today. So with that mindset, it's like, all right, I can't lose,
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, you got to have a long enough time horizon. Like if you're looking to make a quick buck in the market, even in times where it's not like what's been happening over the last 2 weeks, you're more than likely going to lose than you are going to come out ahead. But if you have such a long time horizon, you can afford to have downturns in the market, which there's probably going to be a few more before, you and I hit retirement age, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the biggest thing is we have to remember what this all means. If let's say the market, I think people get nervous that the market's never going to come back. And it's okay, so those top 500 companies in the US that make up the S&P 500, you would have to bank on them not growing. You know what I mean? And then I think that's a bigger issue that we would have on our hands, as far as the economy goes. But so I personally am just going to keep investing because I do believe in those companies and I think they're going to continue to grow. And I think we're going to be in a much different spot in a few years. The information, opinions, and recommendations provided on this podcast are for entertainment purposes only and do not constitute professional financial advice. Any financial decisions you make based on the content of this podcast are your responsibility. We strongly recommend consulting with a licensed financial advisor or other qualified professional before making any significant financial decisions. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that we are not liable for any financial outcomes.